All in favor? All in favor? Aye, opposed? We are in open meeting closed for approximately 30 minutes on the issue of, for the reason of real property, and no action was taken. And we'll start off the evening. Welcome everyone to our first public participation portion of the evening tonight for agenda items only. If you'd like to speak on an agenda item, please come forward and list your name, state your name, address, and what agenda item you'd like to speak on. You'll have 3 minutes to make your statement.
Jacob McGarrett, 612 Sheridan Avenue, Roselle Park. Ladies and gentlemen, the audience, viewing audience, members of the board, good evening. I gotta ask this question again. Explain real property and who this real property is.
Real property is property that is not considered personal property. So like this school, this lot here would be considered real property. Anything that's not personal property, it's not this water bottle, it's property, it's real estate.
Which building are you referring to in this item?
It's not a specific building, that's just the reason that allows you to go into executive session for discussion. It's a legal exception to the Open Public Meetings Act.
Is that legal?
Yes, a legal exception to go into private session under the Open Public Meetings Act. A permitted exception.
And where did this order come from? Was it determined by the Boards of Education or the state of New Jersey, NJA?
The Open Public Meeting Act is a statute that pertains to any public body, so it wouldn't just be Board of Education, it would also apply to, say, town. It's a statute under the state of New Jersey.
Can you tell me the name of the real property?
No. That information is confidential at this time.
Same as with number 430 East Westfield Avenue was confidential and we could hit the $550,000. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Matthew Weingang, 245 McGee Avenue. I have a question about the use of buildings and grounds, item 12, part C. So Lentz and Lentz are coming in to do SAT preparation. I wonder if I could hear a little bit more about that arrangement. Who invited whom? Did the district invite Lentz and Lentz to come in, or did they offer their services? Is it something that's bid out where other test preparation companies can offer their services? Maybe teachers do that instead at the lower cost. What are they promising to deliver? I just want to find out more about that arrangement.
Okay. What happens with Lentz and Lentz, our guidance department, administration of the high school, of course they have different groups that they belong to, and there are different companies out there that offer SAT, PSAT classes to their students. One of our goals is to raise the SAT scores and PSAT scores. Lentz and Lentz was the company that gave us the best deal. What they do is they give our students a percentage much lower than you would pay if you would go out. So it really benefits our students who stay here and attend these classes. So that is the motivation for Lentz and Lentz, to give our students the benefit of a much lower price than they would pay if they go to the Princeton Review for month on another site. So that's definitely a motivation. Yeah.
So does the board pay them or just the students?
No, the students. They get a reduced price.
Okay.
They will not.
Thank you.
Seeing there's no one else, we'll close the first public participation portion of the evening tonight. And we'll go on to committee reports. Is there any-
Mr. President?
Yeah, hi.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I came in late.
Sure.
My name is Michelle Amato, I'm a resident in town. I was just recently appointed Clean Communities Coordinator.
And your address, please? I'm sorry, sir.
28 East Grant. Acton. Okay. I just have a question. Do I need approval from the Board of Education to bring in a performance entertainer educator as part of the Clean Communities program?
What would that be exactly?
Okay, well, the Clean Communities program is, has a three-pronged approach: cleanup, educating our students, and enforcement of our litter ordinances. So in order to accept the grant, we're obligated to, apply these three-pronged programs. And I'm new to this, I'm a little nervous, I've never really in front of anybody from the microphone that's been paid for. Anyway, I am in contact with 3 performers that will come down to our school systems and do an hour show. I gave you the budget and the dates that they're available, which I have to provide our council the cost for it, but it's all paid for out of Clean Communities grant fund money. So, who do I speak to for approval? Is it,
Is this during school hours?
this would be during an assembly during school hours?
Yeah, if you can, tomorrow morning, you give me a call and we can talk about this.
Okay.
And what we'll do is we'll discuss the program first of all. We'll get our principals involved and we can definitely something that we'll be interested in.
Excellent.
Are you staying? Because I'll give you my information.
Okay.
If you like, or you can look at the website, my information is right on there. Give me a call and we can discuss it further tomorrow.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
How soon?
How soon? Well, the next meeting is March 16th, I believe.
So you need to updates by then.
Well, if you can give me the dates, yeah, I would need to contact the performers like within the next 2 days so I could get the purchasing order.
Yeah, well, why don't we discuss it tomorrow? The timeline may be because we have testing going on, there's a lot of this, it could be an issue, but why don't we discuss it?
Sure, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate it.
And so let me ask you, I have one question for you. That Clean Communities grant, that's given to the town?
That's, yeah, every year,
Is that from Open? Where is that?
okay, the Clean Communities Act was passed in 1986, and what the act does is it imposes a tax on manufacturers and producers and distributors of any material that produces litter. And from that tax, they're able to distribute to the municipalities grants dependent upon how many residents and whatnot in the town. And our grant, well, there's other stipulations. You have to file a statistical report. You have to have two community cleanups a year. Our first one this year is April 8th. So I invite you all to come out. Supplies will be provided for you. And so, yeah, the money does come from the grant. So it's a litter abatement.
Okay, so the program is educational to teach students recycling methods and things such as that.
Right,
So we can tie into Earth Day in April possibly or something.
I was hoping, I know a lot of towns do it April 22nd on Earth Day, but because of Easter and our vacation and the park testing, I was hoping well, they do have openings early April, first week of April, but they also are open in May, but those are all filling up.
Yeah, well, we can look at the calendar. I think
Yes.
something that we may want to pursue. Are you name is?
Michelle?
Michelle. Okay, Michelle.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah, of course.
was a Girl Scout troop here, when was that, about a month ago?
That's right.
Are you working with them?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay.
I'm so proud of them. Well, once you're a Girl Scout, you're always a Girl Scout, and I'm a Girl Scout. Troop 596 out of St. James, 1966. So, yeah, I was very pleased that they approached and you gave permission, and I'm in the process of ordering those cans for them that are specific to the school. Yeah.
So
And they're coming on April 8th, yeah. I think about 25.
I would reach out to, in the past, Boy Scouts.
We have Boy Scouts on, they're coming too, they're aboard, yeah.
And the other recreational sports that I know have been adopted in the past as well.
Yeah.
Baseball, soccer,
Mhm.
so.
Okay.
Good luck with your new position.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Seeing there's no one else, we'll close the first participation portion of the evening tonight. Now we're going to committee reports. Does anyone have a report that they can read? Yes, Mr. Collins.
I attended the mayor and council meeting on March 3rd, and Jessica Diaz was sworn in as probationary police officer. A new borough clerk, Anthony Desires, was sworn in, previously served in Roselle Park as a councilman. March has been officially recognized as Youth Arts Month in the borough of Roselle Park, which is very exciting and welcoming to the students of our borough. The students who were given awards here at the last Board of Education meeting last week will be asked to come to the council meeting to receive additional awards for the work that they created. The Roselle Park military truck has been approved for use in the Woodbridge St. Patrick's Day Parade, which Mayor Hoganson is part of. The 25th anniversary of the gazebo is going to be on June 25th. They are looking into updating the area around the gazebo for the celebration. And also on March 27th, from 6 to 8 at Costa's Restaurant, the mayor will be holding a meet and greet. If you have any questions or concerns, this is a wonderful opportunity to speak with the mayor, so please feel free to stop by and join me in some pizza. And I also attended the Union County Education Services Commission on March 1st. And what was discussed there was the budget was gone over for 2017-2018. Overall, the budget increased by $1,241,264, or 2.4%. The biggest expense of this was transportation due to the added routes to transport all the additional students attending the schools. A major decrease was $974,810 from the Union County Juvenile Detention Center. The commission discontinued services at the center on August 31st, 2016, which gave that decrease in funds. $210,000 in undesignated fund balance has been appropriated for improvement projects at the 1571 Lambert's Mill Road Complex for an added parking lot and a new playground. A partnership grant to help fund transition services has been applied for. Trinitas Hospital Program is working to implement job opportunities for special needs students. The UCESC received a visit from the Bridgewater principals and therapists to exchange ideas on the special need programs. A $2,500 grant has been applied for, and that is to help refurbish the program of the garden and the greenhouse at the Westlake School. They're also searching for a principal for the Lambert Mill Academy, and the candidates will be presented to the commission. And we also had a guest speaker, Hope Weinstein. She is a speech therapist and last year's Teacher of the Year. She gave a presentation on the Miller Method for preschoolers. This is connecting with the students by using comfortable instruments to get into their world. Verbal for behavior has also been added for use with the Miller method. She informed us that Dr. Callahan, an expert in the field of these methods, was brought in via video conferences to speak with the teachers and parents about these methods. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Powers. One quick question for you. The mayoral meet and greet is March 27th?
March 27th,
And what time is that?
6 to 8.
Thank you.
At Costa's Restaurant.
Thank you. Anyone else for committee, please? Yeah, it is good. Okay, now we'll go on to the superintendent's report. Good evening, Mr. Burrito.
Good evening, Mr. Miller, good evening, everyone. A very short report tonight since I had a lengthy report last week and I will be reporting next week on some of the end of the year plans and activities. However, I just wanted to inform everyone that our 3-year strategic plan, 2014-17, will expire in June. We had a very good outcome to the plan. It's on the website if you would like to look at it. We met 90-95% of the goals of the plan, so we're very happy to have done that. I will be convening a committee to work on the next 3-year strategic plan, which will take us to 2020. And now that the budget, we'll hear a little bit about the budget numbers and we'll know what the budget is in April. I would like to start the plans in April and hopefully have the plan completed by June or July. Also, our next parent meeting with the ECC parents will be held next Thursday, March 16th at 7 p.m. I will send out information to all the parents. A flyer will go out to inform them of the meeting. And as we told the parents when they were here at the meeting, and I told them at the first meeting, we'll continue to keep them updated on anything that comes up with the ECC for 2017-18. Thank you, that's all I have for today.
Thank you, Mr. Burrito. Now we'll go on to the policy portion of the agenda, where I'd like someone to make a motion to approve agenda items 1 through 9. 1, 2, 3, 4 are district policies, and 5, 6, 7, and 8 and 9 are district policies first readings. Do you have a motion? Mr. Arm, second? Second, Mr. Bowman. Are there any questions or comments? Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Vice President Harms?
Yes.
Mr. Bowman?
Yes.
Mr. Cancino? Mr. Gurdon?
Yes.
Ms. Powers?
Yes.
Mr. Sekou?
Yes.
Mr. Signorella?
Yes.
Mr. Vida?
Yes.
President Miller?
Yes.
Roll call motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. And now we're on to education, where I'd like someone to make a motion to approve agenda items 10 and 11. 10 being education programs, 11 being educational trip requests. Do I have a motion? Mr. Arm, second? Second, Mr. Vida. Are there any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Those items are passed. And next will be business, where I'd like someone to make a motion to approve agenda items 12 through 16. 12 being use of buildings and grounds, 13 being approval of bills, 14 being public budget hearing, 15 being approval of minutes, 16 being approval of transfers. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Gurdon, Mr. Signorella, second. Are there any questions or comments? I will be abstaining from item 12E. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Those items are passed. And that's going to new businesses. Anyone have new businesses they'd like to report on?
I have a question.
Sure. Ms. Powers.
The Historical Society, every year they get a grant, right, for the high school students, for college. They want to be a part of choosing the students this year. Is that possible, and how do they do that?
I always say call Mrs. Costa at the high school, let's go see what she can. And we need to check on the policy to see if it is strong.
Good. we're told that it's the principal and the board who makes that decision.
Let me look at policy first, Kim, and then what I'll do is I would suggest, if there's not any policy, to speak to Mrs. Smith.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Powers, as someone who was a part of the high school scholarship committee for many, many years, I think you're going to find that it is possible for your organization to have input in that selection, because I know many other groups have had input on selection of their scholarships. But we'll definitely check into that and get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
And Mrs. Garcia, along those same lines, maybe you can answer this. If a group wants to create scholarships, say, for the schools, how do they go about applying for that?
Call the council, and you let her know you want to put something on, basically. That's how we've done in the past. Ms. Carlson is the one that kind of puts it all together. And also we did like the guys club, we tell them, we have this, they're going to get X amount, this is the criteria for it. Other private members of the community say, I want to give one out for the whatever, and here's the criteria for it. It's very easy. You got the money, call her up, tell her you want to give it to them. You have the right to pick that person. Good. I mean, they don't someone come and say, I'm going to give it to that one there. They might recommend somebody because they might fit that criteria.
That criteria, right, there has to be some criteria.
Right. Well, you have to create the criteria.
Right. The
You as the
criteria.
donor, you as the donor create some criteria.
Yeah, you donate the money, right.
So Mrs. Carlstrom, she,
No, Mrs. Costa.
oh, Mrs. Costa.
Ms. Carlson is the one that handles all of that. She's the one that sends out the letter to everybody every year, okay, or calls you and asks you, are you still doing what you've done in the past? Okay?
Even if it's elementary?
No, only the high school.
Okay, high school.
Only high school.
What about elementary and middle?
I'm not sure. What we did before, we went to the principal when we gave out in middle school from the dad's club.
Again, we'll check the policy on that, but it's good to know.
Although there is a policy on it, there's a very specific policy. I believe the policy actually refers to the principals,
Yes.
and then it's to the principals are based on the criteria that the organization.
You're absolutely right, and we'll check out the policy and we'll make sure that, I'll send it to the entire office.
And if we need to modify it,
Yes.
certainly I think the casino will take it up on the board operation.
Thank you. Anyone else for new business? And now we'll start our second public participation portion of the evening tonight. Please come forward, state your name, address, and what you'd like to speak on. We'll have 3 minutes for your statement.
So here's in 150 Berlin Street. Did we do this already?
No.
Oh,
It's next year.
I guess I had questions beforehand then. But a while back I had asked if a board member could request information regarding finding citations or precedent for having board members who call in or Skype in to be considered present. And I believe board member Holmes, wondering, have you gotten anything back from the attorneys?
No, I don't know if there's any feedback back on it.
Mr. President, we will discuss it.
Thank you very much. Can I ask questions about beforehand? Real quick? Yeah, because I have my notes here, so.
You can ask after the presentation.
Yeah, great.
So just real quick, and I thank you, Mrs. Garcia, for providing that information online beforehand. Just a quick question, well, one of them is, just there's no expenditures on this one, and I do know that you do give the information about the changes to expenditures, but there's usually an expenditures. All right, so just doing my basic, good. Just doing my basic math, I saw that the percentage increase of the tax levy was about 2.29%, but the total budget went up by 3.93%. The levy was 481,933, and the total increase for the entire budget was 1.3 million. So there's an $894,000 that's not being paid by taxpayers. Like, so where could you explain during the budget presentation where that $849,000?
Exactly what I planned on doing.
And just real quick, the other line item was the capital and maintenance reserve. I see that it's 600,000. Could you explain that too? I know you will, but just in case.
You should have waited till after.
I know she's going to do it, but I just wanted to make sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jacob McGarrett, 612 Sheridan Avenue, Roosevelt Park. For our attorney, Ms. Osborne, you said real property is something that is not owned by a person.
I said real property is not personal property. Real property is like real estate. Like your house and the land that it's on, that's real property. Whereas like your jacket is personal property.
But as a taxpayer,
The school building is real property.
I'm afraid I'm losing you.
I'm afraid I don't really know another way to explain it. Real property is real estate. It's something that the district owns or leases or purchases with respect to housing, furniture, and students. It's like your house.
But I own my house.
Yes, but this is a school district, and the school district owns this building, which is real property.
But we pay the taxes and someone else owns it?
No, we own it, you own it, tax.
As the taxpayer, but it's
It's ours.
right, it's through the school district. It's siphoned through the arm of the school district.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Seeing there's no one else, we'll close the second public participation portion of the evening tonight, and we'll go right into our public budget workshop by our finance committee and Mrs. Fisher. We're just going to set up things and should be
Good, you? Hey, Gene. Back here. It's just a big book, right? Yeah, big book. I got that. All right.
What's that?
Saturday. Yes, I went to find this. Like, you know, $30 a month. No, not to exceed $600. I never did that. You don't get paid. $30 per week.
State
And there's two meetings a month, not just one. No. You can't exceed $600. Then you get $600, no matter what. No matter what.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for sticking around for our first public budget workshop. My name is Roger Bowman, and I'm actually the chair of the Finance Committee. So what we're going to do tonight, is give you an overview of the budget process to date. Mrs. Gershio is going to go over highlighting some of the expenditures and revenues for the district, including tax levy information, and then we're going to give everyone the opportunity to provide comment, suggestions, and actually have an interactive discussion based on the information that you're going to be provided with tonight. So before we do that, I just want to go through some key items on the budget timeline, if you want to skip to the budget meeting timeline. So tonight, March 7th, is our first public budget workshop. Again, overview, opportunity for you to give comments, suggestions of the process, provide input. On March 14th, will actually be our second public workshop, which will be a more in-depth presentation on the budget as we gather more information through the entire process. And then we have, also on March 14th, it will be during our regularly scheduled board meeting, and we would then adopt a tentative budget. So, just to highlight a few more dates, April 25th would be our public hearing on the budget, and then May 9th would be the date that we would adopt the budget at our May 9th board meeting. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Ms. Gershio, who's going to give you the presentation on the budget. So, here you go.
And I too would like to thank you all for coming this evening to perhaps give us some input. The intention this evening was to initiate with a very brief outline of some important facts with relation to the budget. We do intend a week from tonight in this building, Sherman School, at 7 p.m., having our next board meeting, and at that particular board meeting, there will be a much more detailed presentation on the budget for 2017-2018. So hopefully you will be able to attend that meeting as well. And that should answer some of Mr. Kirsten's questions that might not necessarily get answered this evening. Again, our intention was to start you off thinking about the budget and hopefully providing us with your comments, your concerns, and any other questions you might have. If we don't have an answer for your question tonight, we will write down those questions and address them all next week at our second meeting. Budget process starts in district back in December. All administrators work up their own individual budgets for their particular buildings or areas that they oversee, and they submit those to me in January. At that particular point in time, I'm researching the salaries of all the current staff. 99.9% of our staff are all part of collective bargaining agreements. So therefore, I know exactly what that person is scheduled to make in the following year because that contract exists. So I then input all of that information to come up with accurate estimates for salaries. As you can see in the timeline, those of you looking at the sheet, Governor Christie gave his budget address last Tuesday. However, the actual state aid figures did not come out until Thursday around 5:30 p.m. So today is Tuesday. I've had very little time to work on the budget with that information, but I have been working and definitely will have everything completed for you by next week in that more detailed presentation. The state government does give us a window of which we have to work under in doing specific components of the budget. So looking at Again, the timeline, all school districts must submit a tentative budget to the county office by March 20th, and that has to be submitted by 3 p.m. And that is why we needed to move our board meeting up a week to meet that deadline. The county office has approximately a month or so to review all the budgets of school districts, and they will let us know by the latest April 24th whether or not they approve what we have submitted. Only then can we then hold our official public hearing on the budget. The earliest that can be is April 24th, and Roselle Park has committed to the following date of April 25th. We will then adopt our budget on May 9th, exactly as Mr. Bowman had stated. Again, tonight's intention was to give you a few highlights of different components, starting with expenditures. As I mentioned, I was able to go into those collective bargaining agreements and input the salaries of all current staff for next year. That increase comes to $505,015. So that's one item in the budget that definitely has to go up according to the contracts that we have with all our staff. One good piece of news that's good is the fact that our health insurance will not be going up next year. And the reason for that is thanks to the hard work of the negotiations team. Last round of contracts, we were able to negotiate a change in health benefits, one that is less costly to both the school district and to the employee. Now that employees have to contribute to their health insurance, they were a lot more agreeable to making that switch. It was something that benefited both sides. So because of that change to a cheaper health plan, our health costs for the 17-18 school year will not increase. So that's one piece of good news. The school district always looks to continue growth and improve its programs, its buildings, its facilities. So once again, we have plans to enter into another lease purchase. That will be a lease purchase where we borrow $400,000 to buy certain items, and that particular lease purchase must be paid off in 4 years. So the first payment will be a payment of $100,000. So that's another line item that will increase slightly. And with that lease purchase, we plan to improve technology at the elementary school. You're all aware that we did do a one-to-one initiative at the high school, the middle school. So we are going to be focusing at the elementary school next year, looking to purchase some more laptops, some iPads, and some smart boards. We're also looking to purchase some new textbooks. Those of you who were at our last board meeting heard about the new math textbook series in grades K through 5, the Envision series. That's one example of textbooks that will be purchased for next year. We're also looking to do some new equipment. We're in need of a new generator at the high school. You never know when there will be a power failure. We just had one recently at Aldine. Fortunately, we had just replaced the generator at Aldine last year, so that kicked in and no one even knew that there were any problems. The one at the high school is quite old, 25, 30 years old, so it's in need of replacement. And we're also looking to purchase some additional furniture throughout all of our school buildings, so that will be part of the lease purchase. And one project that is definitely scheduled for, excuse me, I'm battling that throat thing that everybody's had the past month. But one project that is definitely scheduled for this upcoming summer will be a partial roof replacement at the middle school. We've been experiencing problems for a number of years with a variety of leaks, so that's definitely well overdue. So that will be part of our expenditures. However, that particular project will not be funded through any additional tax levy. That particular project will be funded through withdrawal from capital reserve of $400,000 and withdrawal from maintenance reserve of $200,000. So therefore, that revenue will cover the cost of that one-time project this summer. Some bad news, which I'm sure you're all well aware of it. We once again received flat state aid, which means we did not receive $1 more than we got last year. So although costs are going up, the state is not helping us with any additional state aid. As far as other revenue items, this year's excess surplus was a bit larger than last year's, so that was a help in preparing the budget. The excess surplus was $525,110, which helps as a revenue item. Our tuition that we receive from other school districts has decreased slightly when you track, so that has to be accounted for. Our debt service payment, now that we are getting closer and closer to the end, our final payment will be 2025. We are now starting to see the downside of our debt service payments. This one is slightly less than last year, I think $450 less. But the good news is the next 7 years, those debt service payments will continue to get smaller and smaller until we make our final payment in 2025. Revenues, because revenues lead to the tax levy increase, which is the one thing that everyone is most interested in. We do know this at this particular point in time. Nothing is definitely set in stone because I still have a lot more work to do this week on inputting the budget into the DOE software. But my work so far has indicated that we were given an enrollment adjustment this year, smaller than the enrollment adjustment we were given last year. This year's enrollment adjustment is $59,622. Last year, our enrollment adjustment was in the area of $188,000. So that's a smaller figure. The government then adds that enrollment adjustment to last year's tax levy, which gives you the subtotal figure you're seeing there of $21,115,536. And they use that figure to compute the 2% tax levy cap that school districts have the ability to work under without going to the community for a vote. That 2%, you can see, comes to $422,311, which makes our maximum tax levy increase without going to the voters of Roselle Park for permission is $21,537,888. $847. The other revenue figures you can see are pretty similar to the past years. We anticipate taking in about $240,000 in tuition from individuals and other school districts. The town pays us $72,000 to run the aftercare program at the Anthony Signorello Youth Center. We do have some revenue that comes in that's known as miscellaneous revenue. Those figures, looking at previous years, we anticipate being somewhat in the same area. All of our state aid figures, you can see, were exactly the same as the year before. Slight increase in what's known as Medicaid reimbursement. That figure is given to us by the government. The state government. They tell us how much we can anticipate in getting from Medicaid for certain medical kinds of expenses that our special needs children incur, like physical therapy, occupational therapy. They will give us some reimbursement towards those types of services if we apply for them. Excess surplus, as I mentioned before, is a bit larger this year than last year. And then, of course, the one item that is a one-time appearance in this budget is that $600,000 withdrawal from a combination of capital reserve and maintenance reserve that, again, is devoted solely to the partial replacement of the roof on the middle school. We do anticipate getting some grant money, as we always do. The NCLB grant, the IDEA grant, we're told should continue. We were also instructed to budget 80% of what we received last year. So those are the figures that you see on the list there. And finally, our debt service payment, as I mentioned before, $703,100, slightly less than the year before, only $450 less. What does this mean possibly in terms of the tax levy if we continue in this avenue as we work to complete our budget? What I have on the next slide is a list of 5 years. In this list, per Mr. Kirsten's request, I've now included not only the general fund tax levy, but also the debt service tax levy, so you can get a better idea of what the total school tax levy would be each of those years. So going back to 2013-14, our general fund tax levy was $17,855,273. Our debt service tax levy that year was $684,513 for a total tax levy of $18,539,786. I'm not going to read every single year after that. I'm sure you can read along with me either on the handout or up there, but I will mention this because it's not something noted on the slide. In the year 2014-15, the total tax levy increased from the year before by $1,296,101. In the year 2015-16, the total tax levy increased from the year prior $1,306,881. Last year, 2016-17, the total tax levy increased by $616,696. That's less than half the increase from the year before. And right now, with the calculation given to us by the DOE, our maximum tax levy increase without going to the voters for special permission will be even smaller. The increase would be $481,483 from the year prior. Before I open the floor to comments from the public, do want to mention that, again, that our next presentation will be a week from today here at Sherman School, 7 o'clock at our board meeting. At that particular board meeting, we will give a much more detailed budget presentation as we have done so in the past. You'll see a list of expenditures, including the revenues. So at this time, I will turn it over to the public, and if you would like, you may get up one at a time to the microphone and come up with your comments, concerns, questions.
How much time do we have on the budget?
3 minutes.
No.
Okay, 2.
No? You got it? Jacob McGarrett, 612 Sheridan Avenue, Roseville Park. And this question to Mrs. Gershio, partial? I thought the whole roof was going to be done.
Reason it's called partial is, if you recall, approximately 10 years ago, we put additions on the middle school. Those additions have brand new roofs. They're in good shape. They do not need to be repaired. Only the old part of the building needs some roof repair, so that's why we're calling it partial. 2 additions were put on the 2 sides of the building. So those roofs are in great shape, no need for any work there. Just the center old part of the building.
As long as we're talking about age, how old is the old roof?
I don't have that information with me tonight.
Is it warranted? Was it warranted?
No, it's long over the warranty.
And how much are we being funded from federal and state monies?
When you look at the list of revenues, all of the aids listed there, categorical aid, extraordinary aid, categorical special ed aid, equalization aid, security aid, Medicaid reimbursement, other state aid, park readiness aid, per pupil growth aid, professional learning communities aid, that's all part of the state aid package. Federal money is the NCLB IDEA grants.
Where is it on the revenues?
On the line that says total special grants fund, those grants are federally funded.
So what will be the amount that has to be collected from the taxpayers with this increase?
Again, Jake, if you look at the handout,
What?
you will see that on the slide that's titled Total Tax Levy. 2017-18 is the last line, and the figure at the far right, $22,240,947 would be the tax levy for the Roselle Park community.
On a home that's valued $235,000, how much would that be?
I don't have that information tonight, but I will definitely have it a week from tonight, on the 14th in that presentation.
That's good, Sue. Rental of facilities that you're referring to.
Next week's presentation will have that information.
Oh.
That's expenditures.
At Ticklish Point, where is the money for 430 East Westfield Avenue coming from? So,
That's an expenditure, and expenditures will be detailed next week.
but I'm asking you the question this week.
So, Jake, our last Board of Ed meeting, we mentioned when it was brought up that this money, needed to be paid out. We mentioned when we do put together the total budget, the budget that we're going to adopt, that there will be line items specific to that. It's not there today. Today is an overview of the process. More detail is to come the next public budget workshop. So you're going to have to be patient and wait until the next budget workshop to get that information.
If I had patience, I would have talked to them.
Thank you, Jay.
Thanks.
Solid Cares on 150 Berwyn Street. So with this removed from capital and maintenance, how much is left in reserve for each?
I don't have those figures with me this evening. I will have them for you next week.
Could I just email you tomorrow?
There will not be much left in either one of those reserve funds, but I will have the exact dollar amounts for you next week.
And just, so the capital and reserve, the capital and maintenance, actually, these are the kind of things that you have them for, right?
That is correct.
Are they accumulated over the years? Like, is it a
Yes.
reserve? Okay. And then, in times such as this, you pull from it, doesn't impact the taxpayer.
Correct.
Is that by law, or is that just by policy?
Could you ask the question?
In other words, in
detail?
such instances, for these kind of projects, is there a state law that requires you to pull from the reserve first before putting it on the levy, or is that just a policy? That the board said, let's pull it from here instead of?
It's a choice of
Okay.
the Board of Education to either pull from there or go to
Right.
the community in a separate.
That's good to know, right? Because, right,
Well, the reason why we did that, so we wouldn't.
you would go to the 2%. Right.
I mean, it was a smart thing to do.
Right.
Just one little comment on the capital. That was the first time in a long time.
Yes.
We had any money in there, so.
Wow.
We did our due diligence to get some money in there.
Okay.
And then, of course, as soon as we had have it in there, we have to spend it, but it's a good move on the board's part to do this, so we wouldn't have to impact the
Right.
taxpayers on that 400,000 anyhow.
And just for clarification, it's on the revenue side because you're pulling from a reserve.
Right.
It's not a negative, basically, it's a positive to, right?
You're adding it to
Thank
the
you.
revenue.
Correct. And last year, the health insurance was about 5.7. It's going to be the exact same this year? Is,
Close, yes.
okay, close enough that it's not going to impact, right?
Next week.
And I guess this was part of the negotiations, but is it expected that it's going to remain the same, or is it dependent upon external factors? Is it dependent upon, government policy, federal policy, state policy? It's dependent upon the market. Okay. Thank you. And then, I guess, next week, in line with the expenditures, where like Mr. McGarrett stated, the settlement will be coming from, and also the line resolutions 24, 25, 26, and 27 from the last board meeting where all those projects were going to be approved. Like,
They're not part of the budget at all. That's an exploratory, it's a situation.
There's no money attached to it, correct? Is that what you were saying? There's no money attached to them resolutions.
but when there is,
Pardon?
but when or if there is, so let's say that,
Well, that would be at a later date, then.
okay,
That wouldn't be this budget anyhow.
gotcha. That's, okay,
That would be easier to say, it wouldn't be this budget anyhow.
thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Matthew Lange, 245 McGee Avenue. Thank you for all this detailed information. I'm new to looking over these tables, so there's a few terms I don't understand. Could you explain what excess surplus means?
I'm only laughing because you're one of many people that have asked this question, so please be patient with the explanation.
Okay.
School districts are allowed to keep surplus of 2%. So at the end of the school year, June 30th, when we audit our books, and we are allowed to maintain a 2% of that budget as a surplus. If we have any funds remaining in our budget beyond that 2%, that is what is labeled excess surplus. By law, that excess surplus must be returned to the taxpayer as revenue in the following budget. So therefore, when we underwent our budget audit June 30th of 2016, the auditors determined that we had an excess surplus of $525,110. And it, as you can
So it rolls over.
see, is part of the revenue list here for next year's budget.
So the 2% that is not excess, where does that go?
It stays in the general fund budget for the school district and is there more as an it's a surplus that allows you to operate without going into debt, especially since the final state aid payments come in the summer after the school year is over. So many school districts need to borrow money temporarily to make their final payrolls in June. Rosa Park, proud to say, has never had to borrow money to do that.
Okay, and the state monies, I understand that there isn't any change. Could you explain to us the decision-making process, like is it the governor unilaterally that decides this?
Yes, the governor and of course the state legislature does discuss with him, but I believe it's the governor who has the final say.
Okay, so if we
So
want to give
state
feedback
aid
to
has-
our officials,
If
we
you're
should
here
talk
next week, you'll see a more detailed explanation of the state aid history. State aid, since Governor Christie came into office, took a big dive his first year and came back slightly and remained somewhat flat. We are still not back up to the state aid figure we were given the last year of Governor Corzine's office, year-long term.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Seeing there's no one else, well,
Mr. President, are we allowed to ask questions?
absolutely.
So I have three, I'll try to keep it to my 3 minutes. So quick math, Mrs. Gershio, it's 2% of the general fund is allowed to be in surplus, so we have approximately $648,000 we're carrying in surplus, not excess surplus, but in the surplus account.
Yes.
$648,000. And then, I understand we have not reviewed expenditures, but at the recommendation of the finance committee, they put together the revenues budget, and we're anticipating, without the expenditures being noted here today, that we are going to go to the cap. We are going to ask for a 2% tax levy increase this year.
We'll be close, yes.
All right. And then the third question, and I did run it down, see what happens. Mr. Sanjana, I'll give you a minute and a half if you give me a minute and a half back.
Okay, let's switch. Real quick, in the past, I've asked how much is the amount for the students who go out of district. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Bergeron. You stated that it's roughly around 2.4 million, I think, a year.
Again, that will be part of next week's presentation. I think 2.4 might be a little large.
Okay. Well,
I think it's more like 1.6.
1.6, okay. So the larger question is, the superintendent has said that he wants to bring some of those students back, and that will be a cost savings to the district. Has anything been put in place on both your behalf to bring those students back so we can see a cost savings at budget time?
Mr. Sanjana, we always have plans to try to see if we can, for example, we're talking about bringing some of our behavioral students that are out of district back and opening in class. Obviously, this planning, we need staff, we need space, but we are always planning. We, in the past 3 years, we've opened 2 autistic classes, so we have either returned students or we have kept students from going out of district. So yes, as every other district, because of the large expense in tuition, we do have plans, and I will share that with you as soon as we have something a little more solid. Space is definitely an issue in the district, as you know, and then trying to bring the students back is also not the easiest thing, but we are always planning to bring students back.
Thank you.
Thank you. The last question, and I apologize for not having it, and then having to rack the brain to remember it. It's actually a 2-part question, A and B. So we're going to embark on another lease financing. I think I heard it was going to be $400,000 with a $100,000 a year payment.
Correct.
So, and I know these are kind of the trendy way to get through school budgets the last 4 or 5 years. So my question is how many lease payments are we or how many lease financing arrangements do we currently have? That's it. And part B is what is our payment on each of those annually, not including the one that's kind of proposed at this time. What is our obligations around those leases?
Again, next week I'll have the exact figures for you. I can tell you tonight that we currently have 3 lease purchases, and one has 1 year to go, the second one has 2 years to go, the third one has 3 years to go. So school districts will do, Mr. German, you're borrowing a large sum of money, but yet increasing your budget by a 1/4 of that amount. So, for example, I talked about a proposed $400,000 lease purchase. We will get $400,000 to purchase necessary items for the school district, but we're only increasing our budget by $100,000. If we borrowed $600,000, we'd only be increasing our budget by $150,000. With this one, if it goes through and gets board approval, we will then have 4 lease purchases, but all staggered as to the number of years. So when the next one gets paid off, if the board decides to re-up that, the payment will already be in the budget.
So, and that's.
So moving forward, we can continue to borrow this amount of money without increasing our budget at all.
Right, so, and I guess that's where the question was, and we can certainly talk about it next week. I guess I would ask that the committee consider, and Ms. Gershio consider, having those as each individual line items, if it's not already done on the expenditure. Because I think it's an important, on the expenditure listed right from the paper. Because at the end of the day, I think it's important for the budget, because that hypothetically, and I don't expect you to know that what that payment is that's falling off next year, but that can kind of get buried. And if it's, say it's $100,000, it goes away, it gets absorbed as part of our normal operating costs, and it, you know, it becomes status quo as opposed to it was set up for a specific purchase and arrangement.
And that would be a great way to save money if the school district didn't need to continually buy textbooks, furniture.
But I think it should be a conscious
But it's
decision every
something
year,
for the
right?
board
To say we're
to
going to go
consider,
up.
yes, yes.
That would be a future spot that we could cut if needed.
Not that we had to cut, but we could make a conscious decision.
Right, but I mean, if we want to go forward, we'll say, you know, what, one more year, let's just say it's 100,000. Well, that might be 100,000, we might have to be to where we get under 2%. You know, so you're right, I mean, we should be listening it down there and see what each one.
And I will list it that one next week.
I mean, for your consideration.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea. I mean, we should show everything that's down here, so it's, you know, total and then break that.
Well, similar to if right now we're showing debt funded, right? I would suspect if we had multiple bonds, we would probably do the same thing with that, right? To show where all the bonds are, you know, and I understand this is a total, it's not a sub-total, right? So, thank you for your consideration.
Anybody else on the board have questions? With that note, I'd like someone to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Gergen, second. Mr. Arms, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are closed. We will see you right here